Hello there, everyone. This is Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist, and welcome back to another episode of the Mad Science Lab podcast. Today, we're going to continue on with the My Tiers series, and here to do a breakdown of the quarterback tier, rookie quarterback tier. It's kind of a short one. There's only 14 of these guys, and I got a piece of paper with their names written down because majority of these guys are nameless fucks that nobody knows, but so we'll see how it goes. But here to break down the rookie QB tier is SC Romero. Thanks for joining me, man. Nice to have you.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you having me. Always have fun on these shows with you. So, I mean, looking forward to talking these rookie quarterbacks. Some of them we could, ramble on about forever. And some of them we might just say a sentence and be like, all right, that's it, So,
yeah,
excited to talk about these rookie QBs.
There's a few of them where I'm happy if I know where they ended up. Like we were just talking Sean Clifford. I had to use Sleeper to look that one up. I thought he went undrafted, but I guess the Packers took him in the 5th round. That was news to me. So,
yeah.
You want to take a second, tell everyone where they can find your work?
Yeah, brother. So at the PPR Show on Twitter, I post a question of the day just about every day. You can find me on Dynasty Pros, mostly doing some video with them. Have a Devi show with some of the guys there every other week. And then RPO, you can find me on some RPO football, some articles there. And I have my own YouTube channel at the PPR Show. Been taking a break off it, but definitely going to get back up and rolling. But follow me on Twitter, guys.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. Let's get right into it. Our first quarterback is Stetson Bennett, Georgia quarterback. I do believe he was, last time I looked, they have some wacky prop bets in Vegas. I do believe he is the current front runner for first rookie player to be arrested this year because that's Stetson Bennett. He is in LA with the Rams. That's where he went. He's a guy, like, I get it. He's old. He's not particularly great. He seems to have a history of winning, and with Matt Stafford's health, I've taken a few late-round flyers on him because I think he's going to see the field this year at some point. What tier do you want him in, and what do you have to say about him?
Man, I liked him, right? He's a winner out of Georgia, and I do think he's a little bit undersized for your typical quarterback, so I'm going to put him below average. Just because I think he's going to be a backup. I don't necessarily, if he does start, it's because Matthew Stafford goes down. But even then, I don't think he's going to start in the Brock Purdy role where we're kind of thinking, okay, he could be the starter. He's going to be a backup, I believe, but he's definitely going to help the team if he has to take the reins there.
He's a wild card to me. Like, I know a lot of people are completely avoiding him, but he's just one of those guys where there's nothing in his overage, shitty profile that says he could be a thing, aside from the fact that maybe he's just one of those guys that just fucking wins. Like, everywhere he goes, he just seems to win, despite the fact that nobody knows why. And I just, like I said, I stashed him on a few spots. I think Stafford's health is going to give him a shot. I think the team's going to suck, but, he's not completely worthless.
I think he'll be great for, like, the NFL. As you mentioned, like, he might win, but is that winning? Like, they just dished it off, and he just got a couple dish outs, 5-10-yard plays and stuff like that. So
he could be the next Chase Daniel, just a career backup making $7 million a year. Guess that's not such a bad job. Next, we have the relatively irrelevant Sean Clifford, 5th round to Green Bay. Where do you want this? Where do you want Clifford, and what do you think about him?
Man, sadly, we're going to put him just below. It's just bad. I just think this was just a flyer throw for Green Bay, just an insurance thing for Jordan Love. Well, I do think this is Jordan Love's team, and I don't really see him taking that over. Some of that's just going to be practice squad, really, for them.
I couldn't agree more. If Green Bay turns the ball or turns it over to him at any point, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. And I mean, I guess it's not completely out of the range of outcomes because I don't think any of us are convinced that Jordan Love's the savior, but he might be. If Sean Clifford sees significant time this year in Green Bay, it is going to be a rough year in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He was taken in the 5th round by the Cleveland Browns. Well, what do you think of him?
Man, talent-wise, I think he could at least be in the average, but probably put him in the below average. He also is undersized, but he can expand the play. He can escape. But I don't even if Deshaun Watson goes down, I don't necessarily see him as anything that's gonna be like ooh ah to anybody. And that's really just because you're not gonna see the same DTR you saw in UCLA. Pro guys are a lot bigger. Especially the AFC North. It's a tough defensive division. So I just don't think he's gonna excel to what we saw him at UCLA. So I would have to put him in the below average area.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get much of a shot. The athleticism, though, he was just such an athletic freak that I really thought he had potential. Don't like the landing spot. Got Cleveland there, which is a pretty much run first offense. And
Right.
even if they're not, you've got Deshaun Watson in front of him. He might be a serviceable backup if he ever has to be thrust into a starting role due
Agreed.
to either injury or massage mishaps. But I
They
don't
did
think he's got much value either.
they did trade Brissett, so who knows? When Brissett went in there, he
Oh,
did shine. Maybe he has that
that's
same kind
fair.
of luck.
That is fair. Next up, we have Max Duggan, who is now with the LA Chargers. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, again, same thing as DTR, where it's like I want to put him in the average, but it's Justin Herbert, and Justin Herbert's been healthy. He is reunited with Quentin Johnson, but I don't see him having any kind of relevancy outside of just a backup. Maybe when they're blowing out a team or something, he'll be in there. So I'd put him in that below average, and even then. He's not necessarily going to excel. I think it's just going to be he's on the field just to keep the clock moving, not on the field to make the play. So he did great at TCU. They went through the championship or through the playoffs and everything like that. So I do see that, but again, pros is different, and it's not going to be the same luck he had at TCU.
Yeah, I don't expect him to ever see the field. I mean, it would be nice. It's a nice rapport, I'm sure, with Quentin Johnston, but I'm sure he'd much rather have Herbert in there.
Right.
Next up, we have Jake Hayner, who was the first quarterback off the board in day 3 to the New Orleans Saints.
I'm actually gonna put him in that average one.
Yeah, I was
Just,
thinking that too. He's not terrible.
yeah, and I think he, Fresno State as well. Derek Carr, who's the new quarterback in New Orleans, is also from Fresno State. So maybe they just build that connection there. But I do like him, and I don't necessarily think he's going to. If Jameis Winston is healthy, Jameis Winston will be the backup, but Jameis Winston hasn't been healthy. So Hayner may get the opportunity to, shoot up and be the backup to Derek Carr. If Derek Carr has to go down for whatever reason, Hayner can get it done. It might not be the prettiest team, but I expect him, he can put up some good numbers if he does get a starting job or not starting job, but go in to be a filler. I don't expect him to start over Derek Carr, but he could be a nice filler to maybe get you a few points here and there.
I'm a Saints fan, and I forgot Winston was still on the team, to be honest with you. He's been completely written off since the Carr signing. I see him, you see, like I did a lot of the FC Eliminator ones where you can start like up to 3 quarterbacks. So every single quarterback who could ever potentially play is drafted. And you've got him going in like the last round of drafts as the, quarterback 57 or something. So next up we have, sorry, go ahead.
No, I say, yeah, it's possible. I mean, I don't think he starts more than 2 games, and that's just because of injuries happen. But hey, he could be the guy that comes into the fourth quarter because they're blowing a bad team out, and then he just puts up 12, 15 points for you. So possible.
Next up, we have Minnesota Vikings backup Jaren Hall.
I'm probably gonna put him in the good area, man. Kirk Cousins has always been. For some reason, no one likes Kirk Cousins. Even though he puts up numbers, he puts up top 10 numbers. No one likes him. He's one of the underrated quarterbacks, and it's always been they got Kellen Mond one year. It's like, oh, he's taking the spot. Now it's Jaren Hall. Jaren Hall has a cannon though, and from BYU, he has that relevancy to still make good plays towards Justin Jefferson's Jordan Ashton. He has those weapons around him. So for whatever reason, Kirk Cousins goes down, who's been healthy and probably won't. Jaren Hall could step in there and make a play. I definitely have him over Kellen Mond. Think he's the better quarterback, and I think he's good. And he's just, it's just there's a better quarterback in front of him on why we won't see much of him. But he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, I think he's a capable quarterback that I kind of like this landing spot. I don't mind seeing him develop behind Kirk Cousins. And then I don't know if this is Cousins last year. I feel like he's got 1 more year left on the deal, but I wouldn't mind seeing him sit for a year or 2 if he has to pull the Jordan Love. and then develop and see what he can turn into. He's not a complete write-off. He's definitely someone. I probably didn't draft him, but if I have the taxi squad space in my dynasty leagues, I think I'm probably putting him on a taxi squad. He's got some potential.
I agree.
Next up, we have one of the more intriguing ones we've seen. Detroit Lions backup Hendon Hooker. I know he's coming off the ACL tear. What was that? The November, I think it was. I feel like I know he went as the 5th QB off the board. I think if he doesn't tear his ACL, he's probably a first-round pick, and he's going a lot higher. Right. I know anywhere where I needed a quarterback, I stashed him in the late 2nd round, early 3rd round. I really like him. I know he ran kind of a spread offense at Tennessee, and his guys were just really fast, so he's never really had to go through his progressions. But this is the perfect situation. He can sit behind Goff for a year, get healthy, learn to run a pro-style offense, and probably develop. And when Goff moves on next year or the year after, I think he has a shot at actually being a prolonged starter.
For sure. No, I agree with everything you said, and he because of the ACL tear, I'm not putting him in that elite because he was my front runner to win the Heisman. But I'll definitely put him in that great tier, just because I think he's a solid backup and definitely someone if he comes back from a smooth recovery, then he can. Honestly, during practice or something, if Jared Goff is slacking and Hendon Hooker's healthy, he can take over that spot. But I also think it's Jared Goff's position to lose or starting job to lose, right? So I do love Hendon Hooker, and I think he's going to add a new dimension to that whole offense in general if he sees the field at all. But I agree with you. I think he takes a couple years to develop, and they say, okay, unless they have a horrible record and they get maybe Caleb Williams next year, it's Hendon Hooker as that backup, and it's his job to potentially become the starter in the future years. Again, that ACL tear hurts, but that would be the only reason why I knock him down to great and not elite, because he did phenomenal. And as much as people want to say, oh, it's the offense at Tennessee, Hendon Hooker was still the leader, and he was still the one making the throws, and he threw some dimes. So I love this guy, and I think he could be great at that NFL level.
I think the Lions make the playoffs, so I think Caleb Williams is out. I think this is going to be their long-term solution. I know he's no Anthony Richardson, but people underestimate his rushing ability too. I think that's going to – it might not make him a dual threat, but he'll be more like the early career Russell Wilson, where he's a pocket passer, but he has some rushing upside, not like, the Jalen Hurts where it's 50-50.
Right. And he's smart. He has a good IQ. So
yeah, that's definitely noticeable. Moving on to my QB1, the mayo in his coffee eating Will Levis, who went to Tennessee at the 32nd or maybe 34th pick. I know everyone's saying he didn't get first-round draft capital. He's only a second-round pick. But by all accounts, the Titans tried with 4 or 5 teams to trade up into the end of the first round and were unable to. I'm treating him like a late first-round pick. That might just be wishful thinking. If you know anything about me and you've seen my articles about pocket passers versus the mobile QBs, I treat the mobile QBs like running backs, and I trade them before the rushing falls off. I treat the pocket passers like gold. This is why, I would rather have a Joe Burrow or a Justin Herbert over a Lamar Jackson or a Justin Fields. I love me a prototypical passer, and this guy reminds me – everyone says Josh Allen. This one reminds me of Ben Roethlisberger. This dude's just huge, and he was my QB1.
Yeah. No, I love that comp, actually. That's something I was looking at, too, when it came to comparing him to a pro quarterback is Ben Roethlisberger. And, honestly, I don't want to put him in the elite, and draft capital could play a hand in that. I do think he starts this year. I just think they're trading up to him after getting Malik Willis last year. They're over Tannehill, and they're just waiting for Tannehill to slip, say, okay, Levis, it's your turn.
I think Tannehill starts the season, I think. Will Levis comes in mid-season.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure. And I don't necessarily I'm going to put him in that great tier, but I think he's a step above Hendon Hooker. So if there was something between elite and great, that's where Will Levis would be by himself.
There's a bridge there, hey? Yeah.
Right. And so because he has the arm, like you said, and he has some mobility as well. He's not someone that he has a great arm to make the NFL throws, but he can also escape the pocket if he needs to be. So I put him here because he's not starting day one. But again, I think he's a fringe above Hendon Hooker as far as what the talent could become. If he excels on all levels with his talent wise, I would take him over Hendon Hooker if they both did 100% of what they can accomplish. I just think he has the better prototypical QB that you're looking for. So I like him in the great, but definitely just a smidge above Hendon Hooker.
Next up, we have a quarterback who is likely just a depth piece and probably won't even make the team. We have Tanner McKee, who went to the Philadelphia Eagles. Any thoughts?
Yep. Man, I love Tanner McKee pre-draft. He was definitely one of my top quarterbacks because I just loved what he can do. I actually thought, he was very smart, had a good IQ, could make some good throws. He isn't very two-dimensional or anything like that, not a dual threat. But because of that landing spot in Jalen Hurts, man, I'm putting him in the bad. I just don't think it's gonna happen. There's even in a backup situation. I mean, Hurts is the guy. There's no way McGee overcomes Hurts. Hurts would have to career-ending kind of thing to get McKee even a shot, and even then, I still think they would address a quarterback in the future draft. So,
next up, we have Purdue quarterback Aiden O'Connell, who went to the Raiders. This is one where it's becoming more intriguing. With the Jimmy G health debacle here, this could very well end up being Hoyer or O'Connell, and I can't see how anyone loses the job to Brian Hoyer. So,
right.
he may have some sneaky value here.
Yeah, man, because of that, I'm putting him in the good. I think he's up there with Jaren Hall. I just think he's someone that people are sleeping on him. And as soon as he went to the Raiders, he was automatically in my head, oh, he's my late round quarterback. And I think I got him like 5-12 in one of my leagues. We had a 6-round draft and I got him 5-12. Just a definite sleeper. I don't expect much out of him, but with Jimmy Garoppolo's health, as you mentioned, I don't see anyone losing out to Brian Hoyer. It could be an Aiden O'Connell season, at least early on. And what's not to like if he has Devontae Adams as his wide receiver 1, right? And Josh Jacobs there. And Jack Moore. They just have some good weapons around him. So there is a realm where Aiden O'Connell actually has some success. And I do like him as a pre-draft prospect as well at Purdue, where he did make some good plays. So I actually think he's good there.
I shuffled the guys a bit here. The next guy is Clayton Tune, who was not the next guy on my list, but I kind of want to sandbag here and leave probably the best 3 for last. So next up, we have Arizona rookie Clayton Tune. He's another one where he's become more interesting. I am fairly convinced Kyler Murray is going to miss a significant portion of the season with his injury, and I think they're going to be so bad they may just shut him down. I have Clayton Tune and a lot of those FC eliminators where I was, I got to the 16th round or whatever the last round is, and there's no QBs left, and I just said screw it and took Tune. Yeah. I think he's going to play a handful of games this year.
Yeah, I agree, and for that reason, he's going to be in the good category for me too. Out at Houston, he made Tank Dell look phenomenal, or Tank Dell made him look phenomenal. Who knows? But he's going to an offense where you might see it aired out a little bit more. I mean, James Conner is back there. They got Keontae Ingram, but you still have Hollywood Brown. They, got Michael Wilson. They still have Zach Ertz, Trey McBride, and they have some good weapons to make him be relevant. So because of that, I think he kind of still steps into his University of Houston role, where he's just a quarterback that gets it done. It's not going to be flashy, nothing too great or anything, but just enough to get it done. So that's why he's in the good category for me.
18 minutes in, and we have not talked about the top 3, and that is who is left.
Yep.
We have Indianapolis quarterback Anthony Richardson. I don't know what to make of him. This is by far the biggest range of outcomes. He could be anything from Cam Newton to Jamarcus Russell and everything in between. What are your thoughts?
Just based off the tapes we saw at the combine and the things that are going on at OTAs right now, he's in the elite category. I mean, if he hits, he's gonna be one of the top quarterbacks that people are talking about, right? But you're right, he can be the Jamarcus Russell, and if he busts, then we're gonna talk about him like we've been talking about Jamarcus Russell as the biggest bust since for a while now, right? But he's definitely in the elite category because he's a dual threat athlete. He has the size, he has the speed, he has the arm, he has everything you want in a quarterback. Now it's just like, can you put that into the game? And I think we're gonna find that out. Week 1 we'll know day 1. If I have,
what do you have him?
Elite.
Okay.
If we have Anthony Richardson anywhere, I am targeting Andy Dalton, or if I see anyone with him, I am making sure I have Andy Dalton. So when that time comes, if it does, I'm going to make sure I trade Andy Dalton to him. Or Gardner Minshew. I'm sorry, Minshew.
Okay. Yeah. It's like Andy Dalton. Okay.
He's Carolina.
Next up, we have Houston rookie CJ Stroud.
Another quarterback, man. They, Houston did a phenomenal move in saying, all right, we're going to get our quarterback first, then trade up for Will Anderson. I think this is their franchise quarterback, and I think they love a lot of what they saw in him. The receiving weapons, you can say, all right, they're not what he had at Ohio State, but I still think he's someone that gets it done, and I think he's going to be a top quarterback, and he was my QB1 of the class, so I'm going to put him in the elite category as well, just so he's going to lead the team, and this is going to be a season where he needs to succeed on all dimensions, and it's possible, and that's why he'll have a great season, because it's all on him. There's not really much around him, so it's going to be he has to have the great season for it, but I'm going to put him in the elite category as well.
Yeah, he's one where I kind of had this group all in one big cluster before the draft. He got out of the top 5, he got my least favorite landing spot. Bad offense, bad team, rookie head coach, and a head coach that came from the defensive side of the ball. That's not a great combination for a quarterback for fantasy. You said elite still, or great?
Yeah.
Elite? I wouldn't argue. Excuse me. I wouldn't argue that he's an elite. It's just I think at this point I'd rather have Young and Richardson over him, but it's just, there seems to be potential there with Houston. It's turning around, and they could turn into a young, explosive offense pretty quickly. But this year, there's going to be some growing pains. Yeah. And we will round it out with the number 1 pick, Carolina quarterback Bryce Young.
Man, he's 101. It's hard not to put him in the elite category. The size wasn't necessarily there for me. He looks like he's super small, kind of like that Kenny Pickett, if you will, with his hands back. Last time when we were talking about Kenny Pickett last year, but Bryce Young, going 101's Carolina. Carolina built a team knowing they're getting a quarterback 101, right? And they must love Bryce Young because they got Adam Thielen, they got Hayden Hurst, they got Miles Sanders, and then they even drafted Jonathan Mingo, DJ Shark, so they have the weapons around him. I want to put him in that elite category just because he's the 101, and he's going to be a day one starter. But, out of those 3 elites, I would say Bryce Young will probably be the one that could slip into great the fastest, so assuming they all hit, he could definitely be the one that is outshined by the other 2, but because he's a 101 pick, he has to be in that elite category.
I am going to attempt to recap it here and pretend that I can remember all these faces. We will start with your elite tier. That's the easy one. Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young, the top 3 taken in the draft. The great tier is the next 2 taken. We've got Levis and Hendon Hooker. It starts to get interesting in the good tier. We've got Jaron Hall, Clayton Tune, and the guy who I always say looks like Rod Farver from Super Troopers, Aiden O'Connell. Then at the average tier, we got Jake Hayner. Below average, we have Max Duggan, Stetson Bennett, and Dorian Thompson-Robinson. And the bad, we have Tanner McKee and Sean Clifford. Oh, yep. I remembered all the faces with a little help from my cheat sheet. But is there anything you noticed there? I don't think it's anything too spicy. It's kind of the order they were drafted in.
Yeah. No, I mean the tier I'm looking at in my late round drafts are those is that good tier. If you're missing out on those top 5 quarterbacks, those are the guys I'm looking at because you hit it on the money with a lot of them. Is they have potential to start, maybe not win the starting job, but because of their quarterback situation that's ahead of them, they have potential to come in and make some things happen. So that's the tier I'm specifically looking at in my rookie drafts because you can get them for less capital and go fill out your positions elsewhere and then get those guys for a potential nice taxi rest right there.
I think the below average tier is my taxi squad Hail Marys here. Bennett, Duggan, DTR. I don't mind stashing any of them. If you've got the roster space, I don't think any of them has particularly high upside, but guess we'll see. Well, that concludes the rookie quarterback section of it. Thanks again for joining me, SC. You want to take a second once again to tell everyone where they can find you?
Yeah, man. Again, appreciate you having me on. You can find me on Twitter at the PPR Show. I do some Devy shows with the Dynasty Pros on their YouTube channel as well. You can find some of my articles on RPO football as well. And then my YouTube channel, the PPR Show with SC Romero. Appreciate everything, man. I always love having coming on here and talking some football with you, though.
It's great to have you. You're always welcome back. This concludes my tiers with SC Romero. Tonight it was rookie quarterbacks. Once again, I am Aaron St. Dennis, the FF Mad Scientist. This has been the Mad Science Lab podcast. Thank you again to SC for coming on, and thanks everyone for watching. Have a good night and take care.